Hello, everybody. Thanks for joining me. This is Alan Weisberg, your stress reduction and life recalibration expert. Today, I wanted to talk about the critics in our lives. I'm making it a point every morning to read some inspirational poetry of my own doing. So invite your friends. Click on that little Perry guy right there. Okay, there you go. Too big a finger. Click on that little Perry guy right there if you resonate with what I'm saying. And we'll begin in just a moment. How's everybody doing today? Yep, gotta get those lips looking beautiful. I know, hilarious coming from a guy. All right, so again, we're going to talk about critics, and there are a number of different critics that we have. It's not just the critics external to us, it's also the critics internal to us. So we'll talk about both of those as we get going. So just a few moments, and then we will begin. It's September, everybody, right? Welcome to September. Soon we'll be in the fall, and hopefully it'll be a beautiful fall for everybody. All right, so here's a poem that I wrote that deals with critics. There are critics in this world, hordes and hordes of babble, and it makes your stomach curl hearing all their gabble. They will piss on your creation, rip it into shreds, stamp it with their condemnation, and go off to bed. That's their job. They do it gladly. This is how they're made. Till today I pondered, sadly, they cannot create. Since they don't possess the courage to reveal what's there, would they rather they would rather lock that storage than to really care? As I questioned their existence, as I mourned their fate, why there's such a distance? Why can't they relate? And today I heard my answer. Critics aren't to blame. They may seem like they're the cancer preying on a name, but instead they're a reflection of what is inside. Catalysts of introspection, there are helpful guides. For the words will lose their meaning if we are at peace. How can letters be demeaning if all conflicts cease? We are the ones that hold the power. Let the critics hum. Stand your ground and do not cower. March to your own drum. So let this be an inspiration to those of you who have a lot of critics in your life, and many entrepreneurs like myself. Many people who are doing things that are off the beaten path are going to get critics from everywhere. And it's okay. So those critics are easier to deal with. Even the critics that are in your own family or your loved ones or your friends who are telling you you're making a mistake. And you should always listen to people because what they're saying may come from many places. It may come from a place of jealousy. It may come from a place of you doing something, and by you doing that something, it puts a mirror in front of them and asks them to look into it and saying, hey, I'm doing mine. Are you doing yours? And that's a very uncomfortable feeling that nobody wants to go through. So, hi, Candy. I read a poem just a minute ago dealing with criticism. I'm happy to read it at the end, or you can take a look. Thank you very much, Candy. I appreciate it. Invite your friends. We're talking about critics in your life and how to go about it. So there are those external critics that could be really uncomfortable with their own situation, and the way that they deal with that is by going to you and by telling you what they really think of your decisions, but it has a lot of reflection on what is happening within them. So those critics, you can always hear what people are saying because there is value in many things, even if that value is to see the other opinion. My best friend is a person who is on the complete opposite end of the spectrum. I'm the Mr. Positive. Everything is going to work out. The world is beautiful. He's the person that sees it differently. And any one of my ideas, the first place, including any of these poems, the first place is poo-pooing them. And it's something that I've learned to look at in a very positive light because he represents a reflection of what some people may view my opinion as or my work as. And it's important to know that, because if I'm trying to help people, which I am, with my different courses and programs, if I'm trying to help people, I need to understand the full spectrum and where people fall into it. And my friend becomes a great example for me to utilize to see the other spectrum. My mother would be a different example, because when Seamless came out, and I was telling people, hey, it's beautiful because it's so common sense, and it's things that we all know about. And her reaction was, again, on the opposite end of the spectrum. It is common sense. Everybody knows it. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to get it. And on one hand, I started getting upset because I was not getting through to her. On the other hand, it gave me an opportunity to see what the other person is talking about and how they would perceive it. So then I took that and I changed my program, or I altered the messaging to include that, saying, yes, it is common sense. And that's the point. Right? Just because we know what we're supposed to do has nothing to do with us actually doing it. And here's a way that you can actually do those things that you know that you're supposed to do. So you can look at critics that way. You can look at critics as a motivation. Everybody says I'm not going to do it, so I'm going to use that as internal fuel in order to propel myself to actually achieving something. You can do that. I don't necessarily suggest that method, because you're looking for fuel in the wrong places. You don't need anybody else to motivate you. The motivation should be coming from within. Why are you doing something? You're not doing it because you want to prove somebody wrong. You're doing it for other reasons. I'm doing this because I want to help people. And that's my motivation. So my motivation is aligning with who I really am, and then utilizing that in order to take that knowledge to help other people. Whether it's in stress reduction or other things that I'm doing, doesn't matter. The point is I want to help people. So that should be the motivation. But, it could be another fuel for you if you choose to use it. And finally, the most important critic in our lives is one within. And that's the critic that we need to worry about probably the most. Because if a part of you wants to do something, and the critic within you, we can call it ego, we can call it something else, but the critic within you constantly chirps in your ear of, you're going to fail, this is not going to work, or you're not good enough. That part you really need to work on, because that part you can't really shut up. So you need to work through those. That means opening yourself up. That means going through your fears and understanding what is actually happening on inside, and then knowing how to work with that, learning how to work with your thought patterns, and learning how to pay attention to certain ones and not pay attention to others. That's where a lot of that work comes in. So when we're dealing with internal critic, it's very important for you to really know who you are. Because if you take that as a basis, if you know who you really are, then it doesn't matter whether it's internal or external criticism, because you already have your guideline. You know who you are. Everything else is just around. You may listen to it. You may use that in order to understand others better. And perhaps many of them have valuable points that you need to investigate, or at least look into open-mindedly. Open-mindedness is a very, very important factor, whether you're an entrepreneur or anything else that's dealing with life. You have to be open-minded, because we see things from our perspective. We see things through our prism. And if we don't focus on anybody else and what they're saying, then you are missing a big picture. So definitely be open-minded. You're going to hear lots of things that you don't like, lots of things that you're standing against that people are saying, and it could be just trolls, like we have on Periscope or Twitter or anywhere else on social media, or it could be people who really don't get you. And if they don't get you, maybe you should reconsider the way that you're providing that message. Maybe they're asking for the right thing. They are the right customer for you specifically, or a right friend in that case. But it's not, your message is not working. So these are all things to consider. So again, we have external critics and we have internal critics. Hope this inspires you to deal with all of them, so you can go on about your life without wasting a lot of the energy on criticism that's all around you. Have a great morning. I will be later on today speaking about allowing versus pushing. Take care. Bye-bye.